Hey, it's Aaron, and today I am with a 2023 Nissan Leaf. It's a little bit dirty because we've had weather and wet roads and whatever this week, but I have driven this for the last week, and the Leaf is still what it's always been. It is a basic car that happens to be electric.
This episode brought to you by coffee.
Really well done. This year there are a couple of changes to it, and but for the most part it is still the same as it has been since this generation when it was introduced. I want to say 3 years ago, might have been 4. The Leaf has both fast charging and standard charging on it, so you can plug it in pretty much anywhere you go. It will fit basically everything but a Tesla plug. You have 149 miles of range with the lower end model, and that model will cost you somewhere in the maybe $25,000 to $30,000 range, depending on how you outfit it. And then you have 215 miles of range with this particular model, which is the only other option, and that gives you that will cost you somewhere getting closer to $40,000. About, I think this one is, as it is right here, is 36, if I remember right. It's 36 or 37,000. Pretty affordable car. You cannot get a Tesla for the same price as this. You can try. You can talk all day about how the base price of blah 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 is, but you won't find one. You can get this. So, and the Leaf is older than the Tesla. It's been around a whole lot longer. It is made in Tennessee, and it is just what a basic car should be. So it's an A to B car. Get you there, get you home. That's it. It has some small creature comforts on the inside, but it is cloth seating, very good cloth seating, but cloth seating. It is a basic stereo system. This one has, I think, just 6 speakers. You have pretty basic drive quality. It's not in a hurry to get anywhere. It doesn't go fast. It doesn't do any of that, but it's always confident because electric motors always have their power. So you can compare this to probably the nearest and easiest comparison is to say that this is a electrified Nissan Versa. The Versa is a very, very affordable and very simple car. It is made for getting to A to B, but unlike the Versa, this does not have a sluggish, near-dead engine. This has a very well-done electric engine. It is front-wheel drive, electric motor. It is front-wheel drive, and it is very well done. So let's talk a little bit about design, and then and some of the changes that happened this year. There are a couple of fascia changes. You might be able to see them now. This is slightly larger looking, and I think that is mainly because this down here is also larger, and by making that flatter and larger, it makes this appear a little bigger. I think that's what really happened. New Nissan badge, of course, and this has surround view cameras. So there is a camera right here, and the one on each mirror and one in the back. Then you can see a couple of other changes. The headlights are slightly different, and you can see that the bottom part down here is a little sharper. So it kind of comes together a little sharper. So let's look at the side, talk about design a little bit, and then I'll talk about just driving this as an everyday. So from the side, you can see the wheels on this. The wheels are very unique. Not my bag, not really my cup of tea, but my wife really thinks they're awesome, and a couple of other people who've seen it have also said they really think these wheels are awesome. So that's just, that's a matter of style. I personally just don't like the look, but there are a lot of people that do, so I may or may not be in the minority on that. But you can see the styling of the Leaf is relatively the same as it was before. So you have this coming up here, and then it ends right there, cutting this pillar in half. Interesting look that they have there. And then they have the round around the greenhouse. So you have this line here, which slowly, quietly fades out right before this happens. So right in there. And then this is making your belt line across here. And then it ends back here, but not quite, because visually it looks like it's looping up because of the shape of the tail lamp here. And it comes across, and then you see a crease here, and that runs across visually with the greenhouse, comes back down and completes that sort of circle. Kind of a neat element that's interesting. It's also very aerodynamic. On the doors, I know they're messy, so it's hard to see, but after this, there's nothing but simple curvature. It just curves. There's a slight dip right here, but you can only just see it. It's very difficult to note, but it does catch light sometimes. And then you'll have it right down here again where it cuts in to make that running board / rocker panel. And then over here on the rear door, you have another, just starts right here, runs across, creates a fender. So kind of a neat design. It is functional in many ways, which is a kind of a big part of this car. This car is, function makes the form more than it is style, and then we figure the rest out later. So it's very simplistic, which is again part of the car's persona. Rear seats are pretty good. I can sit in them, but it's a little bit tight. But I'm 6'3" and I don't miss a whole lot of meals. So that's every car in this size category. I pretty much have, I can fit in the back seat, but it's pretty rare that I'm comfortable back there. Front seats are an exception. Very good front seats. In fact, the front seat in this is almost as good as $100,000 luxury cars I've driven. These are beautiful seats, and I love the cloth. The cloth is very robust, but it's also extremely comfortable and cool or warm, depending on what you're doing, what the weather is like, because cloth does not reflect like leather does. It doesn't really even absorb unless it's really getting it hard from something. And that means the heated seats works very, very quickly in this car. So that's kind of the overall design. There are a few other elements. I really like this going along here like that, and the way the taillights are integrated with all of that bodywork. Kind of cool. And like I said, slippery is the point here. All of this has some purpose in creating better aerodynamics on the road. Let's go look at the trunk and the working end, and then I'll talk about the interior a little bit more. So at the back of the car, you can see what it looks like. It is kind of flat, but there's a lot of sharp edges. So you can see the spoiler comes out, and I think looking at it, it might come out a little more than it did before. It's hard to tell because this is also a little bit changed. But then you have this very harsh rake here, and then it cuts to nearly flat, kind of like an SUV. Hatchback here is a key element to the Leaf's overall design, and also key to its usefulness and versatility. So you can see it says Leaf over here, Nissan over here, SV Plus, that's the packaging. And then on the inside, huge amount of cargo space. You would never believe how much there was until you opened this and saw it. So really, really cool. This bag right here is actually the charging cable that comes with it. So when you buy this, you get a charging cable. Not all electric cars say that anymore, which is kind of dumb. I think it's stupid. I happen to have a car charger in my garage, so I've been plugging into that. But it does come with a cable, and the cable is cool because it's interchangeable. So you can put one thing on it and it plugs into your regular 120 household outlet, the little 3-prong regular everyday outlets, or you can pull that off and plug it into a 240 outlet. So any of your dryer or whatever, those kind of things that they run off, they're usually NEMA ports. So if you know what that looks like, there you go. So really cool, and really cool that it comes with that. There's also a tire inflation kit and some other stuff in here. You can, I believe, get this with a spare tire, but it does impede on your trunk space, and it adds a little bit of weight, which will reduce your range slightly. So beautiful car. Now, before we're done, I will talk about electric range and other things with this car, but let's go look at the inside first. Hopefully my head's in the frame, I have no idea. So very quickly, first I want to note that the doors open to almost exactly 90 degrees. They're hugely opening doors, give you a lot of space. Next, I just want you to get a load of the look of the interior. It's kind of boring, but again, this is a low-end car. This is not a high-end luxury car. but it is extremely comfortable. When I sit in it, I have tons of room in this. I am 6'3". That's an easy 3.5 or more inches in headspace up there. That is phenomenal for a car this size. The layout is simple, easy to understand. You have no questions. Even though this is an electric car, everything in here feels like any other car. So there's no confusion or question about what you're doing. You have the on-off button, you have the shifter, you have all the usual stuff. One big exception is, two exceptions, but one big one is you do have the e-pedal control switch right here. When you pull that, you can go to one pedal driving. It takes a little while to get used to that, but I've done it in several electrics, and after a while it becomes very second nature, and you can, it simplifies your driving a lot. It's great. So once you get used to it, it does take some time. It's worth trying. You have seat heaters in this particular model, and then instead of a fuel port release, you have an electric port release, and then you have a timer button next to that. So if you have yourself set up in the car for timed charging, so it only charges after, say, 8 p.m. or some number like that, in order to save on costs or something else, you can disable that by pushing that button. So if you pull up to, a charger in town, a paid charger or something like that, you can turn off that timed thing during that for that particular charge, and that will, so it will immediately start taking power. So very good. Now this charges on my system, which can deliver just over 40 amps, it will take all of that. And it will take all of that just past the 90% charge mark, and then it quickly drops down, and you're down in the 30, 32 or 33 range, and then it goes down. By the time it's done, it's down in the 24 amp area. So total charge time, most of it is going to be happening in that last 10% of the charging. The rest of it will happen fairly quickly in this car. It charges fast because it doesn't have a huge battery. So I'll talk more about efficiency here in a minute, but that's the interior. It's nice and comfortable, simple, but not totally plain. There are a few nice little things around here. Infotainment is good, all of that. So let's talk about some of the details on this, and then I'll wrap it up. Okay, so I mentioned charge times. Charging for this, I haven't had it below 30%. I don't think most people who own a vehicle are really the types to go below, say, a quarter tank or a quarter of your charge without charging. People that do, they don't tend to own vehicles like this. They tend to own beaters, in my experience. So most people probably aren't going below the 25 to 30% mark. So at about 30%, I think it was 31 maybe, I plugged this in to charge, and in a mere 6 hours, totally full, ready to go. So that should give you an idea how fast it charges. I was at almost 90% in, I want to say it was 3.5 to 4 hours. That's when the charge time, suddenly the number of amps it was taking started dropping, which is an indicator that it's getting full. And then the rest of it was just, I looked at the charge state of the car, and that's what it tells me. So that is pretty cool. Like most electric vehicles, there is an indicator up here so that visually from somewhere else you can see on 3 lights about where it is in its charge. There is an app for this that you can use to also look at it if it's connected to your local Wi-Fi or wherever you're using it. Otherwise, you just get in the car, look at the infotainment screen or the driver information screen and get the info. Charging, so mileage, I did not have a good chance to test the real world on this. 2 reasons for that. 1, we had bad weather happening, and 2, tons of wind. So anything I told you about, taking a highway loop or any of that, it would have been severely affected by wind. We're talking like 40 and 50 mile an hour crosswinds. So I can't really say what the real world is on this. But I can say I've had it before before a couple of these changes were made for this year. So I did have it last year, and last year it did very, very well. It got really close to those EPA estimates. It was almost right on. So you will probably get more or less what is advertised with this car. Around town, it's super efficient. So I got great economy around town. In fact, I need to charge it before they come and pick it up, and it's right now sitting at was it 78% or something. So by the time they come pick this up this afternoon, this is going to be really close to full again. So yeah, really, really cool. I really like this car. The Leaf is, again, like I said, a very basic car, but you can buy them right now. There is no wait, and you don't have to worry about when you get in a wreck, there will be no parts availability, Tesla. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about this, the first of the serious production electric cars to be sold in the US. So there you go. That's what I got. 2023 Nissan Leaf. This has been Aaron. Talk to you again soon.
Subscribe.